As promised, this is your weekend streaming edition. Saturday, Sunday, best streamers for your fantasy playoffs. We'll give you today's, we'll give you tomorrow's, because some of you get day of and some of you have day in advance. I'm Dan Besbris for Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. You can find me on Twitter at Dan Besbris, DanBesbris. Old Man Squad on Blue Sky, and Old Man Squad Fantasy over on Instagram, where we post our shorts and nothing else. And please make sure to like, please sure to rate if you're listening after the fact on a regular old pod channel, or subscribe no matter how you're taking in this content, because we are going to bring you these episodes, these streaming episodes, every damn day between now and the end of the regular season. No matter when your playoffs start, we're going to carry you through them, hopefully to victory. Let's take a look at what we got going on the weekend. Those of you that watched our show yesterday already saw the teams on Saturday, the ones to avoid on Saturday. Minnesota's got 1 game over 4 days and 2 games over 6. The Knicks have no games over the weekend, Saturday or Sunday. So if you're in a tight battle this week, you got to get out on the Knicks, because you can replace them with a team with a back-to-back. Pretty rare that you can get that 2-game bump at the end of the week. Or if you prefer, you could dump your Knick for 7 days, because they effectively have a 2-game week starting today, Saturday. There are some little caveats to that. Like, I'm in a league where I'm in a bye this week, and so I did pick up Miles McBride because he's got a couple games at the beginning of next week. Monday, Wednesday, the Knicks play, and then they're off for another 2 days there. So it's not great, but like, that's 2 games over 5 days. And it's 2 games over 3 if you just take the middle chunk of that. But we're talking about Saturday right now. If you have Knicks streamers and you're in any kind of battle, they are a team to avoid because their schedule is very light. 6 teams with good schedules starting on Saturday. Brooklyn has 3 games in 4 nights, 4 and 6, and also 6 games over 9 days, because they start a 5 and 7 on Monday. The Detroit Pistons have a back-to-back today and tomorrow. That's a big one over the weekend. So also do the Milwaukee Bucks and New Orleans Pelicans. Those are your best back-to-back plays if you want to really maximize weekend games. Detroit has 3 games over 4 nights and 4 over 6 as well. So does New Orleans, Milwaukee, all of that. Plus, the Bucks have another back-to-back on the tail end of a 9-game span, so they go 6 and 9 as well. Wizards have 3 games in 4 nights. Their back-to-back is days 3 and 4. They also have 4 games over 6. And Indiana has the shortest little pocket. They have a game today and a back-to-back to start next week. Who are the players that you should grab on Saturday? You know what? Adobe Acrobat is not really allowing me to scroll the exact amount that I want to. I didn't think that one through. I thought read mode would still have a little... Can I pull the thing up and down? No, I can't. All right, whatever. It just won't look perfect. Saturday, players to target. We talked about Brooklyn. Again, if you'd like, you can hold off till Monday, but Sharpe and Keon Johnson are kind of the only fringe streamers that I trust on the Brooklyn Nets, because their starters are going to play at least 3 of the 6 games, probably 4 of the 6 games, meaning you're going to get very, very, very fringe level performances from the fringe level guys. And you kind of want that to be like 2 out of 3-ish, 67% of the games, as opposed to 2 out of 6. That's not a great percentage, but the nice thing is about Sharpe, if you're streaming someone like Sharpe, you're hard hunting probably field goal percentage, defensive stats, and he'll get you some of those, even if the minutes aren't that great in some. And if Nick Claxton does take 1 or 2 of these games off, Sharpe has the chance to go really, really big over those games. So there is some upside built in, maybe even more enticing for like a games cap model where you can just drop him in, but could work in both. Pistons only streamer is Dennis Schroder. As far as I'm concerned, he's a pretty good assists play, because he's going to get you 3 at minimum. He'll probably get you, in better days, he might get you 5, 6 kind of thing. That's pretty good. And again, for most of these guys, I'm looking at minimum a 4-game or a 4-day play, 3 games. So 3 games out of Schroder, you should be able to get about 12, 13 assists. That's not a bad little chunk to throw into your weekly number, because assists are not that easy to come by. Indiana, and some of this will have, whether or not Tyrese Halliburton is in there is going to play a role in it, of course. But I do think Andrew Nembhard and TJ McConnell are worth mentioning regardless. They're both pretty good assists and steals plays. Nembhard has the higher ceiling on scoring. McConnell has the higher ceiling on field goal percent. But they're relatively similar in terms of fantasy makeup, and they would make pretty good specialist plays. Aaron Nesmith for points and percentages while he's running hot right now. And I mentioned this on yesterday's show. I'll mention it again. I'm recording this well in advance, so maybe there has been news break about Bennedict Mathurin since the time that I'm recording this podcast. If he's ruled in, he's on a lot of waiver wires right now because teams can't hold on to guys getting zeros, and he's getting zeros. And he'd be a pretty healthy jump in points and free throw percent for your team if you could squeeze a Bennedict Mathurin in, add in if we think he's going to play in the back-to-back. That's sort of another thing hanging over it. Milwaukee, the only play there is Gary Trent Jr. for threes. That one's relatively straightforward. For New Orleans, and we've bounced around because we've talked about New Orleans a few times already. What made that thing pop up there? I can't figure out how to use this. I thought a PDF would be more fun for displaying on the Today Show, and it's proving to be a little bit of a pain in the butt. Yves Missi is my favorite streamer play on New Orleans. He's a bad foul shooter, but over 3 games, you're going to pretty comfortably get boards, field goal percent, and probably some blocks mixed in there. Jordan Hawkins and Jose Alvarado are kind of tied for my second choices. Alvarado gets you some assists and some steals, and Jordan Hawkins gives you some threes and some points. I'll also throw honorable mention. He's not on this list here, but Carlo Matkovic would be the honorable mention because you might get some rest days from Zion, Kelly Olynyk, and that might clear out a little bit of front court play for Carlo or Bruce Brown. I'm just a little worried about that because I don't know for sure that that's what's going to happen. And the Wizards are the last viable choice here on Saturday. They've got a lot of choices to pick from in terms of streamers. Whether or not Jordan Poole plays does factor into this in some capacity because he'd take a bunch of usage away. But Bub Carrington, points, boards, and assists, pretty solid play there. Keyshawn George, all your counting stats, basically. He's just not good at shooting the basketball, but he gets you points, boards, assists, steals, blocks, threes. It's really quite nice. Bilal Coulibaly, similar, but not really many three-pointers. And frankly, not as many. Keyshawn's just been doing more than Bilal and those other things. Justin Champagny, I'll get you some boards, get you some defensive stats. That's probably what you're hunting there. And then Corey Kispert for 3-pointers is the play there as well. Sunday is also a very busy day. And before we get to that, it's a quick reminder time of our friends at BetOnline. They've been so good to us this year, man. I truly don't know where this network would be without BetOnline. I'll tell you where it would be. We would probably be forced to come up with some sort of paid model, and I don't want to do that. I think that life is more fun when all of this stuff can just be blasted out into the world, and let's all just be good and try to grow a network and get its broadcasters paid for the things they're doing, which you can do when there's advertising, and everybody just sort of gets what they get. It's based on whether they can drive traffic. Hide somebody behind a paywall and then pay them 3 years down the line. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from NBA and college basketball to the NHL and UFC, BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. Covering you with odds, stats, and more on every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline. The game starts here. Let's do our best to scroll to Sunday. Here are the teams to avoid on Sunday. Again, if you're sort of looking out in front, Chicago has 1 game over 4 days and 2 games over 6. So also does Golden State. Those are the 2 teams that put you in a little bit of a bind. It's not the end of the universe because if you sort of deep dive it a little bit, Chicago and Golden State, they both play on Monday. And I would argue the schedule maybe gets a little bit worse after that. It's still 2-6 and it's still 1-4. But they each have 2 days off after the high traffic Monday game. So you don't have to abandon ship on these teams on Sunday, but you probably should. And then you almost definitely should on Tuesday. The Lakers and the Magic each have 1 game over 4 days. The Lakers are one you might want to stick it out because they have 6 games in 8 days at the end of that stretch. The Magic have 3 games over 4 days, which is fine, but it's not overwhelming. So Orlando is probably the team that's the easiest drop candidate in here. Also, their streamers are not very good. If you do drop a Laker, just do drop. That's so peaceful. Just know that someone's going to pick them up because of that 6 games in 8 day ridiculous stretch coming up around the corner. Sunday's got 10 teams with very strong schedules. I hate this. Not because it's bad. It's actually quite good. It gives us a ton of options of where we want to stream. It's just that I keep promising you guys that I'm going to keep these shows to 15 minutes or less. And then we have this type of crap like Friday and then Sunday where we got 10 teams. There's only so fast I can go. All right, let's lightning around this a little bit. And folks, remember, I post these on social media. So if you need to see a visual aid, it's also in the show description of the YouTube video if you want to see these as well. So if you're listening after the fact, there are a couple of ways to see this. If you're like, Dan, you're going too fast. Okay, so let's start with this. There are 3 teams starting on Sunday that have 5 games in 7 nights. The teams are the Denver Nuggets, the Memphis Grizzlies, and the San Antonio Spurs. They are the teams you really want a hard focus on. If you can't get a player on those 3 teams, the next tier down would be what I call the Philadelphia schedule, which is back-to-back 3-4, 4-6, and 6-9, which is basically the same as a 5-7, but with one more 1 day on, 1 day off mushed in the middle. So where Memphis has back-to-back space game, space back-to-back, Philly, Phoenix, and Utah all have back-to-back space game, space game, space back-to-back. That's not all. Dallas and Portland each have a back-to-back as well. Dallas goes 3-4 and 4-6. Portland just has 3 games out of 4 days. Then they have a little bit of a mini break there. Oklahoma City, also same as Portland, a back-to-back, also 3-4. And then I think there's only one team that has a good schedule without a back-to-back, and that's the Clippers because they've got a game on Sunday, they're off Monday, and then they have a back-to-back after the busy Monday. So the Clippers do have an interesting little schedule advantage there because they don't play on the heavy traffic day. And starting on Tuesday, the Clippers actually start up a 6 games over 9 days stretch as well, which is funny because that Monday, Tuesday back-to-back is the end of a Clippers stretch that had 6 games in 9 nights also. So they've got like a 6-9 with the back-to-back in the middle as the front or back end of it. Clippers have a pretty heavy schedule, by the way, from now until the end of the year. Just something to file in the back of the Rolodex if you were hoping for a lot of games out of Kawhi Leonard. Who are the targets? This one we couldn't quite fit on one page. We'll do our best to get them all to you. These are your Sunday streaming targets. A lot of it is repeat stuff from Friday because a lot of these teams had a game on Friday and then off Saturday. And then, like, you're seeing it listed, all these teams that have a back-to-back on Sunday. Dallas, Denver, Memphis, Oklahoma City, Philly, Phoenix, Portland, Utah, San Antonio. Almost all of them played on Friday. I think 1 or 2 might not have. So if you watched our Friday shows, the Sunday targets are almost the same. It's just that instead of having the game, then a space, then a back-to-back, now it's the back-to-back, then a space, and then more games. And we're basically listing anytime a team has 3 games in 4 nights or better on this streaming board. And so if it was game, space, back-to-back, space, game, you're going to get them on the front end and you're going to get them in the back-to-back end. So I think that allows us to move a little bit quickly here because a lot of you have likely already seen this list. Dallas, names are the same. Christie, Marshall, Clay, those are guys that I would want on my roster basically rest of season. By the way, pay attention to the fact that Caleb Martin is back now. He made his return. Again, I'm recording this before that game is over, so don't know quite how it goes, but it's possible that he might just play a lot for Dallas because they don't really have a power forward that they trust right now. And if Caleb Martin's healthy enough to play full minutes, he may go on a pretty good little run here. Might be better as a games cap guy while we see what they do with his minutes, but don't forget about him completely. Spencer Dinwiddie is your guy that I don't think is rostered as much right now, but makes a lot of sense as a points and assists stream. For Denver, your play is Russell Westbrook. That's a pretty easy one, whether or not Aaron Gordon is in. If Aaron Gordon's out, Russ is a games cap play. Also, if he's in, Russ will just be a standard schedule stream. Clippers, same names as before. Chris Dunn is one of my favorites on the board because you know his floor is really nice as long as Norman Powell is out. Bogdanovic, similar thing, but a very different stat set. For Dunn, you're getting boards, assists, and steals. For Bogdanovic, you're getting threes and points. And then Amir Coffey was one that I flipped in at the last minute. He'll get you a few points. He'll get you some free throw percent, but he's not a super exciting one. Grizzlies, this is a repeat again. Zach Edey and Brandon Clark, both are going to get you points and field goal percent. I would venture to guess that Brandon Clark has a much lower rostership. And then Luke Kennard is the guy you pick up if you hear that Ja Morant is going to miss any time in there. Oklahoma City, Aaron Wiggins for points and both percentages. Cason Wallace for steals. Philly, we're bringing them back. They've been off our board for a little bit. Andre Drummond, I think, is a guy actually that probably should be rostered rest of season with the way it looks like they're deploying him right now. And then Gershon Yabusele is coming off a bad ball game. He is a sort of a lower ceiling guy, going to plod along a little bit more. Like Drummond, he'll have those explosion games, which is kind of fun if you can catch one of those while you're streaming. Or frankly, again, I think if you're targeting the stats that Drummond provides, you could use him in almost every format. Yabusele is more of just a schedule level guy because he'll get you some threes, he'll get you some boards. There'll be a couple assists. He'll probably have a game where he scores a little bit better. But again, it's not overly exciting, and I think you'd be hoping for like top 125 kind of stuff. Still 4 more teams. Phoenix, Nick Richards for boards and field goal percent. Royce O'Neal for threes and boards. Grayson Allen for threes and field goal percent. That, of course, is now with the assumption that Bradley Beal is back and stays back. Portland, I've already talked about this one. Donovan Clingan, Scoot, Shaden Sharpe, Toumani Camara. I think all 4 of those guys belong on all rosters right now. And the streamer play, the volume guy, is Jabari Walker. If you're going that route, you're hunting points and boards. For San Antonio, if you go Julian Champagny, you're hunting free throw percent and steals. Keldon Johnson is an interesting little choice here for points and boards. Jeremy Sohan for boards, assists, and steals. And Bismack Biyombo for boards, blocks, and field goal percent. And Utah, the last team you could target. Kyle Filipowski is probably the preferred one right now because he's playing enough to be okay when Walker Kessler's in. And when Kessler goes down, you're going to get those big games out of Filipowski. And if I had to guess, just kind of looking at the schedule for Utah, they are in Philly on Sunday and at Boston on Monday. Kessler will play in one of those 2 games. They're not playing any fellow tanking teams, so it's possible that Kessler plays both the Memphis and, I guess, Toronto's semi-tanking. Maybe Kessler sits a Toronto game and he'll sit one of the back-to-backs at the end of the 6-game and 9-day stretch. I'd be hoping for 4 games out of Walker. I would say 3 is probably the minimum, which gives you then 2 or 3 Filipowski starts, and that's why he's fairly useful over that 9-game span. Oh, my goodness. Sheesh. Okay, so that's a lot. I am very much looking forward to a time where teams don't have that quite that heavy of a schedule, and then maybe we can finally get these shows back down to like 14 or 15 minutes. But in the meantime, go check out our friends at UnderdogFantasy.com. Pick higher or lower on any 2 or more players' projections on the site to set up your pick'em card. But if you want to go big, you can go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different plays. Win up to 1,000 times your entry fee. Absurd. And if you sign up today using promo code OLDMAN, OLDMAN, or just click the link in the show description if you've already got this software on your phone, or if you're on a browser or whatever, that'll fill in the referral link. You unlock up to $1,000 in deposit match bonus cash and a free play whenever you'd like to use that promo to turn one of your 2 choices on your pick'em card into X. Player X only needs to score higher than half a point. And provided they don't get hurt in the first minute and a half, you're probably good. UnderdogFantasy.com. It's your call. Thanks for watching, everybody. It's your Saturday, Sunday streamer show. We're back again tomorrow. You know we're doing this every day, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of our streaming discussions. I will also have some sort of weekly preview. We might just roll that into the streaming show because I don't know how I'm going to do a weekly preview and a streaming show and a recap show all rolled. It's too many shows. I'd love to say that I have the time to do 3 or 4 shows in a day, but I do not. So find me on Twitter at Dan Vespers. Join our Discord if you haven't already. Link is in the show description. That's where all my nightly recaps are going right now. And we really want to push a lot of people in there. So that way, when Twitter down throttles NBA algorithm, I can still make sure that all of you guys know what I'm up to on a given day, especially off-season shows are concerned, because we do go Monday through Friday in the off-season, just 1 show a day instead of a billion. But we'll be with you the whole off-season long. And I'm reminding you now, well, we still got 5.5 weeks to go, so you guys will hear me say it at least once, whether you're paying attention or not. All right, thanks again, everybody. See you guys soon.